Have you ever done something in the heat of the moment, and then later, when you've cooled down, you just think, what was I thinking? Well, it turns out there's a good reason for that. There's this constant tug-of-war going on inside your head, a battle between your instant emotional reactions and your cool, rational mind. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that hidden battle and figure out how our feelings, especially big ones like fear and sadness, are secretly pulling the strings. Okay, so let's start with the big one. Why does fear feel so powerful? I mean, it has this incredible grip on us, right? It can just wash over everything else. To really get to the bottom of that, we have to understand what fear actually is on a biological level. And the best way to think about fear is as your brain's professional hijacker. Seriously, it's this ancient, incredibly powerful system that's hardwired into us for survival. But in our modern world, it has a nasty habit of grabbing the controls at the worst possible times. See, fear isn't just a feeling you get. It's a complete information processing filter. The moment it gets triggered, it fundamentally changes how you see everything. It alters the data you notice, how you weigh the risks, and of course, the choices you end up making. It literally puts a new lens over your eyes. And the command center for this whole operation is a tiny, almond-shaped part of your brain called the amygdala. Think of it as a super-fast emergency response team. One part is in charge of remembering what you should be scared of. Another part triggers that get-me-out-of-here feeling. And the third part sounds the big red alarm, flooding your body with stress hormones like cortisol. Now here's the key. This whole system is built for speed, not accuracy. It's designed to get you away from a tiger so it doesn't have time to think. That's why a scary email from your boss today can trigger the exact same life or death panic. And this is where things get really interesting. When that emergency signal from the amygdala is loud enough, it can literally overwhelm the logical thinking parts of your brain, and that's what we call an emotional hijack. Your rational mind just gets shoved aside, and those ancient, primitive survival instincts take over the cockpit. So how does this actually play out in real life? Well, behavioral economists have actually put a number on it, 2.25. That number represents something called loss aversion. All it means is that the psychological pain of losing something feels more than twice as powerful as the pleasure you get from gaining the exact same thing. Our fear of losing is just incredibly potent. And this intense fear of loss leads to some really weird behaviors, like something called the zero-risk bias. This is our totally irrational love for 100% certainty. We would much rather get rid of a tiny, insignificant risk completely than take a huge chunk out of a much bigger, more likely risk. That feeling of getting a risk down to zero, our fear-wired brains just can't resist it, even when it makes no logical sense. Okay, so we've established that fear can make us pretty irrational. It can hijack our brains. But what if not all negative emotions are the bad guys? This brings us to a really surprising idea, the upside of feeling down. So we know fear can short-circuit our logic. But what if I told you that another negative feeling, one we usually try to avoid, like sadness, could actually do the complete opposite? What if being sad could, in some situations, make you smarter? And I know that sounds a little out there, but this isn't just a random theory. A psychologist named Joseph Forgas has done a ton of research on this. He argues that negative moods aren't just glitches in the system. They actually evolved to give us an advantage, especially when we're navigating tricky social situations. It turns out our moods trigger completely different ways of thinking. When you're in a positive mood, your brain kind of goes on autopilot. It relies on what it already knows, which is great for being creative and making quick connections. But when you're in a negative mood, your brain shifts gears. It becomes way more focused on the outside world, forcing you to slow down and pay close attention to new details. And that careful, detail-oriented thinking, that's the secret sauce right there. So let's look at some of the concrete, evidence-backed ways that feeling a little bit sad can actually sharpen your mind. Okay, check this out. This is the proof. In one famous study, researchers had people watch videos of others who were either lying or telling the truth. And as you can see right here on this chart, the sad participants were way better at spotting the liars. It's like their negative mood made them more skeptical and more attentive, turning them into human lie detectors. It's incredible. And it's not just about spotting lies. The list goes on. Studies show that a sad mood can improve your eyewitness memory, making you less likely to be misled. It helps you avoid common judgment mistakes. It makes you more skeptical of things like urban myths, and it can even help you build more effective, persuasive arguments. Bottom line, sadness can make us more careful, deliberate thinkers. So on one hand, we have fear, the hijacker. On the other, we have sadness, the surprise genius. This brings up a really important question, right? How can we get more of a handle on this whole process? How do we start taming our own emotional responses? I want you to think about it like this. Your first instant emotional reaction to something, that's your brain's automatic first draft. It's fast, it's messy, and honestly, it's often full of errors. But here's the amazing part. You get to be the editor. You have the power to do a conscious, deliberate edit of that draft. And that skill is called cognitive reappraisal. It's all about reframing that first story you tell yourself. So, when is the best time to use this editing skill? Well, reappraisal is your superpower in situations you cannot control. Think about traffic jams, what other people think of you, the economy. You can't change those things, so reframing your mindset is the most powerful move you can make. But for things you can control, like a work deadline or a conflict with a friend, that's when direct action is probably the better choice. Okay, so you're probably asking, how do I actually do this? Let's open up the reappraisal toolkit and I'll show you a super simple, practical method you can start using immediately. All right, let's use an example. Imagine you're heading to a really important meeting and you spill coffee right down the front of your shirt. Ugh. Your automatic thought, that messy first draft, screams, "This is a disaster. My whole day is ruined. I look like an idiot." That's your instant cognitive appraisal. Now here's the 3-step edit. It's called catch it, check it, change it. First, you just catch the thought. Notice it. Ah, there's that day is ruined thought. Second, you check it. Is that really true? Is your entire day ruined because of a coffee stain? Are you catastrophizing a little bit? And finally, you change it. You generate a more balanced thought, like, okay, this is annoying for sure, but it's just a stain. Maybe I can even use it to break the ice. And you can apply this to anything. Instead of seeing a setback at work as, I'm a failure, you can reappraise it as, this is tough, but this feedback is exactly what I need to grow. Notice that? The event itself didn't change at all, but your emotional experience of it is completely different. That's the power of the edit. And all of this brings us to the final and most empowering idea. When it comes to how you feel, you have way more choice than you probably think. Think of it like you're steering a huge boat. Trying to turn that thing around after you've already gone miles and miles in the wrong direction is a massive effort. But making a tiny adjustment to the wheel early on, that's easy. It barely takes any work. Your emotions are exactly the same. The key is to catch them early and make that small course correction. So, in the end, it really all boils down to this. Your emotions are just data. They are not directives. They aren't your boss. Fear is data telling you to be cautious. Sadness is data telling you to slow down and pay attention. They're giving you valuable information, but they don't have to be in the driver's seat. You are. So the real question is, how will you choose to use that data?